By the end of Wano, the power structure of the world is going to be drastically different, and one of the questions I get asked the most is who will be the next Yonko? Because currently Big Mom and Kaido are both villains in the arc, and it's a realistic option that they both go down by the end of it. So in this video, we're going to be discussing who could potentially fill the thrones of the Yonko as they get defeated. Specifically, I want to talk about whether or not there'll even be a Yonko system after Wano ends, but I also will be talking about some of the candidates that could reach Yonko level influence by the end of the story. But to find that out, you need to be part of the King Pirates crew, so I need you to go down below and hit that subscribe button. But let's get into the discussion, starting with the question of will there even be a Yonko system after Wano? Because already the balance of the world as we know it is drastically changing. Pre-time skip, we got introduced to the power balance of the world of the three great powers. There's the Marines, the 7 warlords, and the Yonko. Those three make up the three great powers that keep the world in balance. And even after Luffy took down a bunch of warlords and the Marineford War happened, the balance of the world still remained after the time skip. After Whitebeard died, the Blackbeard pirates fought the Whitebeard pirates in the Payback War, after which the Blackbeard pirates won and became a Yonko crew, and then the world government went ahead and just refilled the seats of the 7 warlords. So even after coming back from the time skip, that 3 power structure was still very much in place. But ever since then, Luffy has come back and just caused mayhem, and things have drastically changed. Like I mentioned, he's pretty much been doing that since pre-time skip, but now he's reached a level where he's taking down Yonkos. And not only is he getting stronger, but along the way he keeps gaining more allies, including the Grand Fleet, to the point where after Whole Cake Island, he kinda disrupted the system completely because he became the 5th Yonko, which doesn't even make sense because Yonko means 4 emperors. So honestly, after Whole Cake Island, the system was already broken, but the world government was also doing their part. Turns out, over the past 2 years, they've been also growing their power through technology, and after the completion of Vegapunk's SSG, they became so confident in their ability, they went ahead and completely abolished the warlord system, just taking out one of the 3 great powers by their own hand. That's an incredibly big deal because not only does it show how much confidence they have in the SSG, but if the SSG does actually have power that's equal to the warlords, it brings an entire another branch of power under the control of the world government. Because while the warlords worked with the world government, they couldn't really fully control them. At the end of the day, they still had their own agendas and they could easily just go rogue and do their own thing like we saw with Doflamingo and Crocodile. But now with the SSG, the world government essentially becomes an entire side of power just by themselves. And on the other side, you have the Yonko, but the problem is they're not teaming up together, so they're not really united. As a matter of fact, we're actually seeing them fight against each other and weakening each other. Of course, you got Luffy taking on Kaido and Big Mom, but meanwhile Blackbeard is also doing his own thing, which I'm sure is not gonna benefit anybody besides himself. So honestly, after Wano ends, I'm expecting at least one of the Yonko to be taken out by Luffy, but I don't think anybody else is really gonna step up to the plate because the world government is gonna take this opportunity to grab at that power. This is essentially what Doflamingo was talking about when he was just laughing to himself, talking about how there's gonna be a Game of Thrones essentially. But yeah, after Wano ends, one side is gonna come out on top, meanwhile the world government is still bolstered with their SSG power. I don't think another pirate is gonna step up and take that position, and instead the world government is gonna do everything in their power to just grab all the power they can. And if you look at their actions, they've been kind of planning this. They went after the warlords to try to kind of shut them down. Meanwhile, they're just letting the pirates weaken each other and take each other out so they can swoop in later and just grab that power. The Gorosei have also talked about a great cleansing coming soon, so it definitely seems like they're ready for war. So honestly, after Wano ends, the only pirate I can see stepping into Yonko territory is Luffy, and he's already pretty much a Yonko. And as the story continues, I think the Yonko system is just gonna fade into the background. Eventually, the world government will have to be defeated and a new system will be put into place. And I think by the end of the story, it's really just gonna be 2 balances of powers with the Marines and the pirates. But I think on the pirate side, by then Luffy will be the pirate king, so you're not gonna need any emperors. Now at the same time, I'm not trying to say that no other pirates will be anywhere near Luffy's level, because I do think there will be some candidates that continue to grow their power and influence and can reach power levels and influence levels close to Yonko are currently, but Luffy's still gonna be like a clear tier above, so they're not really gonna be Yonko. But with that being said, I do want to talk about some of these candidates that could grow to Yonko levels of influence in the future, because I think when it comes to the question of next Yonko, that's what gets people excited. These candidates that could continue to grow and be challengers to Luffy. And there should still absolutely be challengers to Luffy even when he's reached the pinnacle of his strength. I think he'll be a clear level above everybody else, but there should be people that still challenge him and fight him and have a fun rivalry, just like Roger still had with Shiki and Whitebeard even though he became the pirate Pirate King. If there's no rivalry at all, I'm sure Luffy's just gonna get bored. So let's talk about some of these candidates, and with these candidates, the main things I'm looking for are of course strength, but also influence. Influence is the thing I feel like really gets overlooked because that's one of the biggest things about the Yonko. Not only are they ridiculously strong and have strong crews, but they have a lot of territory. It's not only just their physical strength, but their control over the entire world that makes them a Yonko. I think that's what makes Shanks so impressive, is that he has seemingly such a small crew, but enough influence to consider himself a Yonko. But even with Shanks, I think when we finally go and meet him, we'll get more information on why he's so influential, because influence I think is one of the biggest things about becoming a Yonko, and honestly it's one of the main reasons I don't believe any other pirates could become a Yonko after one of them fall. Because if you think about people like Law and Kid, who we'll talk more about in a little bit, even though strength-wise they might be close enough to Luffy where they can take some steps to get there, as far as their influence goes, they're just nowhere near Luffy or any of the other Yonko. We barely know any of their crew members, and neither of their crews have been very impressive at all. And honestly, one of Luffy's biggest strengths is his ability to gain allies. So in terms of influence, I don't think anybody right now besides Luffy has enough to become a Yonko. But if we're talking about the end of the story and maybe we get a time skip, there's definitely some candidates that could grow to that level. The top candidate for me is actually Katakuri, who I think is probably the only person that I think has a realistic chance of actually becoming a Yonko in the short term. We already know he's ridiculously strong, but the other thing that makes him great is his ability to lead. We saw on Whole Cake Island that he was pretty much calling the shots the whole time. He also clearly has the respect of his siblings. There was even that conversation where if Big Mom went down, a good majority of them would follow Katakuri, and I think in the near future Big Mom will be defeated, so Katakuri is gonna have to step up to the plate and become the captain. So with him taking over the Big Mom Pirates, he essentially has a Yonko crew already with the territories that come with it, and power wise I think he's one of the strongest people in the world, so I don't think he's really lacking there. But the only reason I don't see him becoming a Yonko in the short term is because there's gonna be a lot of different things he has to sort out. We saw even with the Whitebeard Pirates, despite the fact they had Marco to lead them, they kind of fell apart after Whitebeard died. So although Katakuri is really strong and a great leader, he's gonna need some time to kind of get everything together. There's probably gonna be some internal conflicts, like Peril Sparrow will probably dip out of there. So I think Katakuri will need some time to figure some things out, but by the end of the story, I think he should be near a Yonko level influence. I think his relationship with Luffy would also add like a really fun rivalry dynamic. They already had their high level fight where they earned mutual respect for each other. I could totally see them having a nice friendly rivalry in the future as pirates. Maybe not to the level of like Whitebeard and Roger, but something very similar to that. So yeah, Katakuri I think will be close to Yonko level by the end of the story. And another person in a similar situation is Yamato. Yamato, like Katakuri, is also a child of a Yonko, but the circumstances are a bit different. Not only do Kaido and Yamato have a bad relationship, but with the structure of Kaido's crew, Yamato definitely does not have the same control that Katakuri does with the Big Mom Pirates. Kaido's crew completely follows strength. There's really not a lot of loyalty within the crew, so once Kaido is defeated, I fully expect people like Queen and King and the Tobiropo to just scatter, but I do think the rest of the Beast Pirates could look for a new leader to gather around and follow. And Yamato could be that person they follow because she is the child of Kaido. Now I know some of you that watch my videos might be saying, Zach, what are you talking about? You want Yamato to be a Straw Hat? Why would she just lead the Beast Pirates? And first and foremost, I still want and believe that Yamato will be a Straw Hat, but I also gotta consider the other options. And as much as I believe in Yamato becoming a Straw Hat, the thing I believe in even more is Yamato just becoming a pirate. The argument that Yamato stays behind in Wano and becomes the Shogun or protects Momonosuke just never made sense to me. She's literally been trapped on Wano for her entire life, and her one dream is to go and explore the world. The person she idolizes is Odin, who went out and explored the world. She's read his journal as well and all the crazy adventures he went on that she definitely wants to go on herself. And she's also literally said herself she wants to go out to sea and explore and become a pirate. So even if she doesn't join the Straw Hats, I'm 100% certain that she's gonna leave Wano and become a pirate, and she might just do that by becoming the new captain of the Beast Pirates. If that's the route Oda goes, I see Yamato leading a very strong crew by the end of the story. She'll probably take on a lot of manpower from the Beast Pirates, maybe recruit some strong people as well. And although she literally has zero experience herself, she could definitely learn from others, and she's incredibly strong. So I can totally see Yamato becoming a Yonko level pirate by the end of the story. But don't get it twisted, Yamato for Straw Hat first and foremost. But with that said, let's talk about some other supernovas, starting with Eustace Kid. Now Eustace Kid has to be the biggest anomaly right now. There's so much disagreement on what his story is gonna be like. And to be honest with you, I'm completely undecided on what's actually gonna happen to Kid. On one hand, I think it's very obvious that Oda has portrayed him as a rival to Luffy. The guy had a higher bounty than Luffy at one point, clearly that was meant to capture our attention, and ever since then he's continued to portray Kid right next to Luffy as a rival. But at the same time, Kid also just hasn't backed up that portrayal and has had a lot of bad luck. And a lot of people have pointed out that the inspiration for Kid is William Captain Kidd, the most unlucky pirate in history. So maybe all along Oda's plan for Kid was just to have him as a foil to Luffy to show the realistic bad side of being a pirate. Maybe Kid just ends up being the most tragic character in the story and never accomplishes anything and just loses everything. Or Oda just has other plans for Kid and he will live up to the hype later. Honestly, I'm not sure which route Kid's story will follow, but for the sake of this video, let's just say that he lives up to expectations. Because if he does live up to those expectations, I do expect him to be a rival to Luffy by the end of the story. And I think because he hasn't shown much in the story, there's a lot of ways he could get stronger and just be stronger than we thought. Now again, in the short term, I don't think he has enough power or influence to become a Yonko level pirate. But again, as the story goes on, I could see him getting stronger and recruiting stronger people. And by the end of the story, I could see him getting to that level. But again, the main problem with Kid is that I don't know what his role in the story would be if he does live up to those expectations. Because even if he does get stronger and maybe takes out a Yonko and becomes a Yonko level pirate later on, he's still gonna end up losing to Luffy. Luffy's still gonna be the pirate king. And at this point, I don't think he's a villain either. Blackbeard's gonna be the one to really fill in that role. And at the same time, he's not gonna be an ally either, so I don't know what his role is gonna be. That's definitely one of the reasons it makes me lean towards Kid not living up to the expectations and just being a tragic character. But who knows, we'll just have to wait and see. But next up, let's talk about the last person of the Supernova trio, and that is Law. Now Law is an interesting character because I don't think he has the same kind of ambition that Kid and Luffy has anymore. Because now that we know more about his character, his new goal is definitely linked to trying to figure out more about the will of D. And eventually he'll figure that out after maybe the world government gets taken down. But after that, if he's still alive, I'm not sure what his ambition is gonna be. Is he still gonna want to be a pirate and grow his power and influence? That I'm not so sure of, but because of how strong he is and how he's like kind of a rival to Kid and Luffy, I can definitely still see him being a top tier pirate by the end of the story. Maybe he kind of just goes into this mode of like recruiting new pirates of people that are in like bad situations like he was. He kind of almost becomes Whitebeard, but just not as extreme. And I think Law is pretty damn strong, especially with his devil fruit, so by the end of the story, I could see him becoming a top tier Yonko level pirate. But honestly, besides Law, I don't really see any realistic candidates. I'm expecting by then Blackbeard is already out of the question. Some people might mention Marco, but I think he's kind of retired already. And with the other supernovas, I think at this point it's pretty clear that they don't have the same goals as the other supernova trio. I'll probably make a separate video on them soon about Oda's plan for their characters, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, besides that, I don't really see any other pirates that could get to that Yonko level influence. But if you guys do, definitely let me know in the comments, and in the meantime, let's play a game of rock, paper, scissors. If I win, you have to like, subscribe, and watch that video. It's on this side, but rock, paper, scissors, shoot! You gotta know by now that I mostly use rock.